Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, but episode 290 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's in a forsaken city with me tonight?
Hello, it is I, Dominic I, frequent guest on this podcast. I'm in the Overload Facebook group. I have a podcast on YouTube, Distant Waves. I'm here a lot, and this is my pick.
And I'm Julian Titus, co-host of the Stage Select podcast, a video game variety show. Been on the show here and there over the years with my old podcasts, and now we've started something new.
And Dominic, what are we here to talk about?
This is Bujangai, the Forsaken City. Little hack and slash beat 'em up on the PS2. Not really beat 'em up, more of a stylish action game. In the vein of Devil May Cry, kind of like God of War, but before God of War. The 50th anniversary of Titus was celebrated with the release of this game, starring Gact. And it's kind of a send-up of early or old, like, martial arts movies in its own interesting way, shall we say.
Came out in 2004. Feels
2004 in North America, 2003 in Japan, 2005 in Europe.
Plus 20. We're celebrating its 20th anniversary. That wasn't on purpose, by the way. That was completely by accident. I actually wasn't going to ever do this. You had just mentioned it multiple times, and then I think Julian, you mentioned it too once, and I'm like, wow, I met more than one person that mentioned this game.
I have to actually say something about that, Mike.
Sure, please.
Because this is one of those things, I thought that I knew this game. I kind of put it in, there's like a handful of like Capcom, like late PS2 action games that they did that like nobody remembers, and I always put this one in that camp for some reason. And I thought for sure that I had played this game, and so I ordered a copy on eBay and waited for it to arrive. Imagine my surprise when I get the game and do not recognize the box art at all, and don't see Capcom on the label, but see Titus and Red Entertainment, a publisher I've never heard of before. And the only thing that I can think of, because I know the name, right? But I had not, I like nothing looked familiar when I started playing it. The only thing that I can think of, because like, and the timeline makes sense. I must have played this at E3 2004. And then when I got back from E3 2004 to my store, everything had changed. Like that was like the beginning of the end of my store. We limped along for like another year after that, but we never stocked this game. So I had never actually like seen it beyond that, and so I don't know what happened there. Like I don't know what I was thinking of. It was definitely like what's going on here. I don't know what this is, but okay.
Maybe you're thinking of Chaos Legion. That's a red hair protagonist too.
Maybe it's like Chaos Legion. I think it's like Crimson Tears. There's like there is like a Chinese inspired Capcom action game that came out.
Devil Kings.
Yeah, like But I will say, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but this is like when we were talking about Conan last time. I think I was definitely talking about like B tier PS2 action games and I really miss that level of game, and I've been talking about that a lot on the Stage Select recently, and this definitely fits that niche.
No, it does, 100%.
I'm pretty sure I listened to the Conan episode and said, Mike, you seem to enjoy playing games like Conan. How about you play this too?
It might have been that too. Yeah. Because this is definitely like it's got a lot of rough edge. It's got a lot of rough edges, but it's also got like a lot of really cool shit in it, and it's definitely got some cool moments.
There was actually one other person that mentioned this game before, also when I did the There's a Cerberus episode, Adam from Talk Games Chew Bubblegum podcast, but I couldn't even hold him, unfortunately, to see if he wanted to join us. But like, I was just surprised if people mentioned the game, because I consider myself a video game connoisseur, especially at this time where I went to EB Games and GameStop, or was EB Games at the time, I think, maybe GameStop, every single damn week, like 3 times a week, and I had never seen this box art before either. And to me, that's just strange, because I freaking lived at a game store, it felt like. I was there all the time buying games. I just didn't even know this existed until, Dominic, you had really kind of pushed it. I'm like, what is this? It's kind of surprising to me to have something from that era where I was constantly in a store looking at games and never have seen this box art. And Julian, another guy who was in a game store and never seen this. Like, that's impressive.
It's not real impressive box art, is it?
No, but the fact that
It's
like
real
we
easy
don't
to
even like we
overlook.
didn't even see it back then.
Yeah.
And
This was a game I had seen in Game Informer back in the day and was always like, oh, I remember that name. That name's cool. And then I saw it at GameStore in like 2011. And I'm like, you know what? It's just a disc in like a generic case, but I'm gonna get it and I'm gonna play it. And it was just a game that I was like, oh, I can play this like once a year and not get tired of it. It's very simple, very direct, very straightforward. It just works for that.
And that's one of the charms of it. And that's what I needed too. Like you spoke to me in the from the past to the future without me knowing it, because I needed something short after Assassin's Creed 3 and some of the other big games I've done. I can't even remember what they are at the moment. And the big games I have coming up. Like I needed this little short thing that I beat in a hotel room over the course of like 2 nights or 3 nights. Thank you. I needed this.
Of course.
Unfortunately,
That's what I'm here for.
never been re-released and probably never will be, I'm assuming at this point, fortunately.
I mean,
Unless they
Square.
reskin Gact, yeah.
Yeah, Square was barely able to re-release Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core because of the Gact situation, and that's one of the biggest companies in games. So yeah, probably not.
So for those that don't know, Gact is a J-pop star or something.
One of the biggest ever.
Oh, okay. I had no idea who he was. I just have heard him mentioned because he's in Crisis Core.
Yeah, I just know him through video games, and I didn't know that he was in this game. So when the character shows up, I was like, "That's a very pretty man." And then it said in the credits, like, "Oh, okay, that's what's going on here. Okay, got it."
I was so, which
this
is sad.
Is an extremely Gact game.
Yeah, and that sucks because it'll never be re-released for that simple reason. Because somebody has to pay him, and they're not going to. So.
Yeah, I also don't even know like where Taito is anymore. Are they even around anymore?
They're owned by Square Enix.
Really? Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah, they purchased them like a year or 2 after this came out.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. They kind of just, the name kind of just went away. Like I think I got a Taito collection for my Evercade, but I was like, oh man, Taito. I haven't thought of them in forever. Because I used to really, I know I played a lot of their games back in the day, but they just kind of vanished.
It's just that
Gact is a huge name.
Oh, so Crisis Core, they took out Gact then, right? In the Crisis Core game, I'm assuming the remake.
I don't think so.
Okay, I was just curious if I don't know because I'm
not that sure. I just assumed that they made a deal to get it back out there, but I never played the original one, so it's entirely possible. I mean, Genesis also a very pretty character, so
yes,
I'm assuming he's intact.
Unless they just took him out of the game completely because you don't need. Wait, no, you need Genesis.
Oh no, you need. Yeah, no, he's definitely in there.
I should look that up now because I'm curious.
Yeah, I played all the way through the remaster because that was my first time experiencing Crisis Core.
I don't know. I just don't like when you have licensed stuff that's going to. I mean, again, they didn't in 2004. They weren't thinking about the fact that if you put certain licensed things in, the game will never be able to be re-released. So that wasn't a thing really yet. I mean, there were collections, but they were just starting to come out. Yeah,
I'm hoping that there are changes being made to the way that deals are inked now for video games because now like re-releases and remasters are a thing, and hopefully that factors into the original deal. Because Mike, you were talking about Alan Wake before we started the show because you're
Yes.
working on Alan Wake 2. And the interesting thing is that, famously Alan Wake 1 was delisted for a while because of their very famous licensed soundtrack before they were finally able to do the remaster. But it's interesting that Alan Wake 2 has all original music. And I think it's because of that. But the cool thing is they actually got Poe, who had been locked away. She had not released any new music, in ages because of she just got a really terrible music deal, but she did original songs for the Alan Wake 2 soundtrack, and that was very cool because
oh wait, Poe's on the Alan Wake 2 soundtrack?
Oh yeah, she is. That's very cool.
Wild. Okay.
Yeah.
I hate licensing, and this is a perfect game to bring up that conversation.
Yeah.
It just upsets me because Alan Wake, I remember when it disappeared. At least nowadays, a lot of times publishers, besides fuck you EA, will announce that it's coming and let people have time to buy the game if they want to for a discounted price before it disappears. I think EA had a situation where they didn't tell people and just took something off. But they did tell people on Battlefield, Bad Company 2, which I did buy. But so maybe I'm wrong. But it's just one of those things that always bothers me. It's ugh. And this is a game that like, it's a fun, short little game. I mean, it's a PS2 action brawler that feels like Devil May Cry and Prince of Persia: Sands of Time had a baby. Like, that's what it feels like. That's the best way to describe this game, unfortunately.
And you played it on pretty easy, so you had like a 4-hour runtime.
I played on easy. I played on easy difficulty.
I would say
and I
playing on normal
at the end.
What? Mm-hmm. So playing on normal, I probably run about 8 hours usually.
Okay, do you die a lot, or did you do farming?
It gets harder in the end for sure, so you die a little bit more, but it's never super taxing, I wouldn't say. Like, the ending is a little more, that last boss fight gets a bit more rough, but like, it's intentionally so, right? Like, that's the final confrontation.
Yeah, that's one of the two reasons I save stated, but that wasn't what broke me. But I will get to that later. I was playing this game completely legit until right by the end, and the game broke me, and I had to figure out how to put save states on my Steam Deck for PS2, which I had never bothered to figure out till this game. So, bravo. I wasn't able to get to a PC, or I would have just loaded it on a PC, but I didn't have my controller because I was in a hotel, and I was like, well, I'll just figure it out. But no, it's a very pretty game. I like the graphics. It screams that era, which is not in a bad way. Like, it feels good. It really did feel like a Devil May Cry 2, but with one way better combat, because that game is not great. And just the way it does it is really, and there's a leveling system in this game too, which I really appreciate it, because it gave me a reason to just kill things over and over again to get more experience to upgrade my magic and attack power.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very like straightforward, very just nice, not too complicated, but there for you to have fun with. Like, it's just like kind of what we were talking about, that B game that just like checks all the boxes, doesn't do anything too crazy, but just is focused on giving you a good time. And
it's very flashy. The combat is super flashy, which I was surprised. Like, if you're or if you just locked on someone, you're not even defending, you're just locked on someone and they attack you from the front, you just go into a whole counter animation and you guys hit each other back and forth, and it never got old. Even after 4 hours of playing this, it did not get old.
The animation in this game is incredible. And I think it shines its best when you're fighting against the humanoid enemies that are also able to, they also have like the defense crystals, so it really does end up looking like a Chinese wuxi movie, and they nail that. And like you said, Mike, like every time that you do the parry, like the attack counter when they come at you for like head on, it always looks cool, and it's never not fun. It's really neat.
And I was surprised. When I came into this game, I had no expectation. Like, I didn't know if I was gonna enjoy it or not. I know, Dominic, you had messaged me beforehand. He's like, hey, it's probably good to have something nice and easy nice and short for you too, nice palate cleanser. And you were right. This was a nice palate cleanser for everything I've been playing lately.
Yeah, it has that, weirdly enough, it has that like Metroid effect where you can play like Metroid Fusion or something once a year. And it's just like that nice little experience that you can kind of get to know it, you can kind of get to be familiar with it, but it's never too taxing.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's mostly combat, but you also will have a lot of like platforming sections too that come throughout this game. And I think it took me a bit before I understood the double jump, because he can jump and then he has like a glide where he like wind glides forward for a certain amount of space. It took me a bit to learn how that worked and how to do it, because I didn't. There is a really nice tutorial in this game, but I went boring Scott Pilgrim way and skipped it, and then regretted that decision. But that's what it felt like. I watched 3 videos and I'm like, this is boring. And then that was the end of that. So that's all I can think of.
But they do take every opportunity to tell you exactly what to do and like how to play the game, and that's actually really nice.
Oh yeah, no, they do explain
things. It's like, but it's also like the story is not like, incredibly.
What story?
Yes. Yeah. There wasn't much of a story, and that's fine. I mean, it's just an action game.
It's funny. Like, I was kind of taken aback at the lack of story, simply because they did have like a at least in Japan, like a celebrity, and the fact that the character never says anything, and his only method of communication is, I'm going to put my hand on my weapon or draw my weapon. And like there's literally a scene where there's a flashback with him and Ray, and Ray's like, oh, I'm going to stop the demons, and then Lau, the main character, like puts his hand on his weapon. He's like, sorry, Lau, we will. And it's like, what's going on here? I don't understand why this game is like this.
And let's not forget the very opening of the game also, where he's just flying through space, and then he just is on Earth all of a sudden. It's like, yeah, sure. Because it's like a flashback, and then it's a flashback of the flashback when you go back to what happened beforehand. But beginning and that end, it's just him flying through space, doing sword moves.
Yeah, nothing is explained. Like at the very beginning of the game, like it flashes some text that says like he wants revenge, and I'm like, revenge for what? Revenge against who? It says like 400 years after his defeat, and I'm like, where is this? When is this? Is this on Earth? Like, what's going on here? Even the name of the game, like the Forsaken City, it's like that's the first level, and it's just like a really boring like cityscape, and you never come back there. Like, but at the same time, as I was playing through the game, it actually was kind of refreshing because it actually reminded me of like 8 and 16-bit games, where it's just level after level. They're not connected in any way. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Like now you're in a volcano. Like now you're in like this like air temple where everything's floating. Like fuck off. It doesn't. It just play the game. Which is kind of nice. Like I kind of miss games like that. And it doesn't even really bother to really explain like why you're going where or anything like that. Other than you're chasing after your former friend who is now a demon, and like he's really keen about running away from you for some reason.
I did not know that was your former friend. I mean, that like is your girlfriend or his former girlfriend that he keeps kidnapping throughout the game?
Lau cares about her, but she has some other duty to fulfill or something or other, and your friend really needs her to do this and that. And sorry, Lau. Blah, 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 blah.
I didn't, I wasn't playing this for the story. I mean, I paid. Also, there's no subtitles. I was very upset. There were no subtitles.
One of those things you can fix in a remaster.
Mm-hmm. That we'll never get, but yes.
But how about that opening, though?
I don't remember it.
I've got to talk about that because that was amazing. So, because this game does not waste any time. Like, you jump right in, and there's, like, no HUD, and you're fighting enemies, and it's very stylish. Like, Gact comes in, and he does this really cool, Chinese movie star pose. And then you're just off to the races. And you play for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, like, I forget what actually happens. But, like, then it cuts, like a hard cut. And then starts playing this awesome, like, music. And, like, does the credits. But, like, the footage that they're playing is actually the recorded footage of you playing that very beginning of the game.
Yes.
Which is super impressive for the day. Because I didn't think the PS2 could do that. I know the Xbox could do that with like Blink the Time Sweeper. But I was like super impressed. I was like, all right, like this game's got some sauce.
It's one of my favorite openings just because it surprises you with that entire thing. Like, no context, no nothing. You're just playing through it. You're probably like dicking around a little bit and like exploring all the nooks and crannies. And then it's just like, you're going to see all of that again.
Yeah. Oh yeah! Here's the part where I tried to like run up this wall for no reason, and then float along here. Yeah, like it was every single move that I did. I was like, okay, that's cool.
I'm pretty sure it's just a timer because I think I've had it where I just stood there and it just played me standing there, getting hit.
It was interesting. Now I vaguely remember what you guys are talking about because I played this game over a week ago, and I played it in a hotel after tired from driving for 5 hours, so. Memory is a little fuzzy.
I had to play it in one night because Bujangai will only read the memory card slot 1 for save data, and my PS2's slot 1 does not work, which meant that I either had to knock it out in one evening or leave my PS2 on overnight, which I wasn't going to do because I don't trust it to run that long. So I played it for like 2 hours straight and then kind of took a break. I just like paused it, turned the TV off, and did something else for a little bit, and then came back and then played like the last 2 hours. And that was the reason that I ended up playing it on easy because I was like, I can't take any chances. I gotta do this in one shot.
Yeah, you don't want to play on a higher difficulty then for sure. You can't save.
I was at some point I played this on hard. I don't remember when I did that, but like I just noticed that when you play it on a higher difficulty, your time basically doubles every time. Because I think it was 16 hours to get through it on hard for me, and that that's just being way more exact, way more careful with just because enemies could just kill you faster. But I think it's always going to be a hassle to play through games on hard difficulty when you're, struggling with it. But for a game like this, it's just so itself that it doesn't super matter. Like, you can play it on easy, you can play it on hard, you can play it on normal, and you'll just have the same experience. It's just, do you want a little bit more pushback?
Yeah, so after I finished the game, I was looking for like anything on YouTube that I could find about it, and there actually wasn't a lot, but I did find a video that from a guy who was really high on it, who was playing it on harder difficulties, and I did see that, like, especially towards the end of the game, you're fighting like more enemies like per encounter, including like in that final like tower that you're going up in like the air temple level, where like the named the enemies that are kind of like you, the humanoid enemies, like there's parts where like you're fighting like two at the same time and stuff like that. Where on easy, you just fight one. Right. And so that's kind of like one of the things they do. I'm sure they do more damage and stuff like that. So I don't feel that I missed out too much. And again, that when you said 8 hours, I was like, oh man, I dodged the bullet, because I would not have been able to do that in one evening. But
you probably also played it more straightforward. Where I like to, like, in that bamboo level, I always cut down every fucking bamboo branch I see.
Yeah. Well, I did that because I thought that was how I had to like proceed. I was like, oh, do I have to like actually like cut down every tree to get like all of this essence? It's like, oh no, it's just these major trees. That is probably my biggest. Well, I have two real big complaints about the game, but my biggest one is probably the overall level design. Because it's every level feels very samey, like it within each level. The levels themselves are very unique, like from level to level. But navigating through the levels, like there were multiple times where I was like, I would come through a door and be like, wait, I've been here before. And no, I hadn't. It's just, it looked identical to the place that I'd been to like previously. And I actually got turned around very easily. And like, even with the radar like thing, that was a thing that really messed with me for the majority of the game. The other being the platforming, which when I was doing the tutorial, I was like, oh man, like this game's got some really cool traversal, and it does. The traversal is awesome. Yeah. I just don't think that it fits in like these levels. Like the game almost needed to be built around like I think the levels needed to be built more around Lao's moveset, where it feels the other way around to me. I don't know. Like that was definitely a sticking point. Especially that air temple. Holy shit.
Yeah, that temple level there's some really hard wall climbs.
Yeah.
That's why I cheated.
The Forsaken City level is a really good example of where it can work, where, if you want to run up the walls and get high places, there are totally those like little emblems for you to collect if you want it.
Yeah, I got quite a few of them in that level. Partially because I was like, I was like, oh, I think I have to go this way. It's like, oh no, that was just a secret. Okay, cool.
There were a lot of secrets because there are gold coins you can collect, but they didn't seem to have any like value other than they unlock like concept art or stuff like that.
Yeah,
I didn't care about.
You get enough to unlock interviews too.
Oh, okay, so stuff I didn't care about. All right, because I was like, I got a couple. I'm like, you didn't give me upgrades to my character. I'm not interested. That's a me thing when I play a game. Like, if you're not going to make me stronger, I'm not interested.
That's what the souls are for.
I miss this age of like unlocking bonus content and behind the scenes content. And I did, like, I started to watch the press conference announcement, which is one of like the first video that you unlock. But unfortunately, the game that I got was pretty scuffed up and actually had trouble with like the full motion video stuff. And it skipped a lot, so I couldn't actually watch it. But like, Mike, back when we were doing like the Legacy of Kain games, that's one of my favorite things about Soul Reaver 2 is that you can unlock like actual voice recording sessions with the cast, and just watching them all in the same room, like doing those like iconic lines from Soul Reaver is like so cool.
That would be cool. I maybe at one time I would really like stuff like that. Now I just doesn't. But now we have to have YouTube. But it's cool that it's there. I agree with you. I do miss that era when that stuff would just be there, as give you extra content to have if you wanted it. Like,
like concept art doesn't impress me, but if you do something more than concept art, I'm more interested.
Same.
Well, interviews are always nice.
Yeah.
Especially at the time, like you're interviewing them as they're making the game. Like it has a different effect.
For sure.
I forget that we did all the Soul Reaver games. It's been so long since I played them. There were some cool games though in that series. There's a rumor that series coming back, but I don't know.
So, well, yes, because once Crystal Dynamics was emancipated from Square Enix, one of the first things they did was put out a survey that was about Legacy of Kain, and I filled out that survey and talked to, and I even put in like what I wanted them to do and stuff like that. Problem is that Emancipation was them going from Square Enix to the Embracer Group. Oh. And if anybody follows video game news, you know that the Embracer Group it was never a good idea, but it is crumbling daily. And my worry is that we're just going to straight up lose Crystal Dynamics, and with them Legacy of Kain and Tomb Raider. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
They're busy making the new Perfect Dark, and they have the new Tomb Raider game with Amazon. So
yeah,
okay.
If they're safe for a little bit, I think.
Maybe. So the fact that there was proof of life of the new Perfect Dark at not E3 this year was encouraging. but I even the Tomb Raider I worry about, because I don't know, them being tied in with the Embracer Group. Hopefully they're big enough that they don't just disappear and somebody does acquire them, or they end up going independent. But Crystal Dynamics has historically been one of my favorite developers, and I really want them to keep going.
There is a Soul Reaver graphic novel coming out, actually. So,
I did see that, yeah.
I'm in a bunch of Soul Reaver groups from back when I used to promote those episodes, and I'm still in those groups. And every so often I'll see a post, I'm like, oh, at least there's something coming out for the series for the first time.
Yeah,
like, how many groups are you in?
Yeah, a lot. I'm a lot. Well, I mean, I join groups for almost every, so I can promote the different games that I do. So, like, you don't hear me believe there's not a group for this. There's not a group for this game, actually, if you can believe that. But I did join a PS2 group to try to see if I can get anyone to comment. I don't think we'll see when I get to that section, but I don't think anybody did. But no, I joined lots of different groups to try to just promote stuff and see what I can get out there.
So you should join like a GACT fan group and see if anyone would comment.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, there probably is that for sure. I did not realize this guy was that big in Japan.
Oh yeah,
I was surprised because the only reason I know who he is because he's in a couple video games that won't be re-released because of him. So yeah,
like he and Hikaru Utada were like some of the biggest names in J-pop for a long time.
Which means nothing to me, unfortunately.
The person that made the Kingdom Hearts theme.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now that means something to me.
Yeah, simple and clean. And Sanctuary.
I do like that game a lot. That's a good game.
But so
the levels, they did feel. Like what you said earlier, they did feel different. And I mean, they did feel samey in the level, but each level did felt different. I know you have the first one just a city. You have a bamboo forest. You have felt like a tower from like the Southwest United States you were climbing up.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. I thought that was a good level.
That was the first one that messed me up simply because I was having trouble with the platforming in that one. And then there was a part where I went for one of the gold coins and ended up like overshooting it because the air dash is like, it's cool until you realize how little control you have, and you can't like that. Unlike other games with glide mechanics, you can't end the glide prematurely. You're committed once you start it. And I ended up sailing over the edge and falling like two full levels of that stage and having to redo like some of the hardest platforming up to that point. And I was like, all right, Julian, no flashy stuff. Don't go for the coins.
It's a very like Souls-like thing of you have to wait for the animation to play out and do its thing.
Yes, very much so.
But thankfully, the combat's not like that. Like, having the fast combat, I think, kind of makes up for some of those other, like, animation-focused decisions they made.
For the most part, there are certain things that didn't click with me because there are certain, like, hard things that you have, like the actual combo system is pretty rigid. And that video that I watched actually addressed one of my complaints about the game, which is that there's a very clear like pop-up move to like knock enemies into the air, but I was never able to follow that up with anything, and I was like, well, that's dumb. But it's because there's a very precise timing because of the animation in order to actually jump up into the air to like continue the combo, and I was never able to do that. And and I'm a guy who very much likes to I like to hold down the attack button to pop the enemy up into the air so that I follow them into the air and then continue the combo. Like that is my preferred method of that mechanic. And because I love an aerial rave, and the fact that I never got to do that here was like very disappointing.
I think like this is the fourth or fifth time I played through it, and this is the first time where I kind of I realized, like, watching the tutorials again, like, oh yeah, there is a combo system. Once you kind of break their defenses, you can press other buttons to kind of do different things.
Yeah.
I never do that.
I started doing it, but then, like, as I got deeper into the game, I was like, okay, I found like kind of a go-to combo, and I was like, this is the win, series of moves. So this is what I will do. But that kick combo is very fun. Like it looks very cool and it's very fun to pull off.
But I mean, just pressing square also just works.
Yeah,
that's what I did.
Square, and then triangle. Very, very good. Like that'll get you through the majority of the enemies.
Whatever gets him to do his little pose with that little drum beat.
Yeah.
My only issue with the combat, I mean, and I think this is probably a me issue, is I didn't like it how you could get trapped in a combo, then you get your, like, I don't want to hit, but that's because I hit the button too much. But that wasn't a complaint to the game. That I just didn't like it. That happened to me multiple times.
Yeah.
But again, that was me.
Yeah, as the game progresses and there's more and more like platforming or smaller platforms that you're on, you can get into situations where at least this happened to me, I would end up knocking enemies off the platform and not actually like getting the orbs from them. So like level by level, I was actually getting fewer and fewer upgrade orbs like as I got through the game.
Same.
One of the scariest things is when you get them off the platform, but you're still attacking them.
Yes. Sometimes you go with them.
Like those mirror enemies, where they kind of encourage that.
That was actually really cool. Those iron mirrors were like they're actually positioned for you to juggle them across like a really long chasm with like a really neat like mechanic. I was very impressed with that. It also just looks cool.
That one got me when that first happened. I was like, what? And then because I couldn't figure out what to do. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And then I don't know if I can't remember if I looked up a video or I just started hitting those things and I went, oh, and it just carries you across. I did not expect that.
Kingdom Hearts works like that a little bit, right? Like when you're in the air, like you can kind of sail across like the battlefield, like with the juggles, if I'm remembering correctly.
I don't really recall that.
We should know.
It's been a long time.
That doesn't super seem like you can do things in the air. You can soar when you get the upgrades to do it. But it's not super interested in like keeping you air juggling.
Okay, I might be misremembering.
You can do some, but not like what this is.
Like they're like 2 is more flashy. Dream Drop Distance is more flashy. Like there's more you can do. Like Dream Drop Distance might be closer to that, and with the flow motion stuff. But yeah, it's not quite like this.
Okay.
But I think another point of reference, Mike, is when we played that Nightmare Before Christmas game.
Oh God, yeah, we did play that crap too. I keep forgetting that we played that game.
And that is a Capcom stylish action game that's not Devil May Cry from a little bit later than this.
You sure it's not Devil May Cry? Because it sure felt like Devil May Cry.
It's Devil May Cry, but it's made by Tosei instead of Capcom. Even though they published it. And I think that was another thing where I'm like, if we're playing this, we need to play Bujangai.
This was a better game.
Oh, yes.
This game felt good. It didn't feel too long. The platforming stuff, for the most part, wasn't bad. I was able to do all of it until the Sky Tower place without save states. Sure, it took me a few tries, but it wasn't a big deal. Even the stuff in the mountain where things can get a little hectic, that wasn't bad either. That was fine. I'm like, this works. Like, sure, it might take me a couple tries to figure out what I'm doing. That's where I had to learn that I could do the air jump and how the air jump worked. But every time, like, I would test and see, oh, can I make this? Nope, I can't make this. Okay, I'll try something else. But, like, overall, it never felt too much. But that when you get to that Sky Tower place, that's when it felt too much. That's when I had to cheat because I could not get up that damn tower. There was I did most of it. The very last part, you have to jump on these, run across the wall, jump again, glide blindly because you can't see where you're going unless you switch the camera. But by the time you switch the camera, you're already falling to your death because you waited too long to switch the camera.
Yeah.
That's when I had to cheat.
I should mention also, because and this was the way it was back then, and I guess I just dealt with it, but things have changed for me. Because I am an invert look person for like up and down, for like the Y-axis. Mm-hmm. But this game, like, and a lot of PS2 games were like this, but the actual left and right, like the X-axis for the camera is inverted as well. Sorry, that's inverted. The y-axis is not inverted for the camera, but like that was messing me up for the entire game. And I remember when Beyond Good and Evil HD came out for the Xbox Live Arcade, the camera was the same way because that's how the original was. And I'm like, by that point, I had gotten away from that, and I couldn't play Beyond Good and Evil HD because of the inverted side-to-side camera movement. And I just had to grin and bear it here. But man, for that sky area, like that really became a problem. And that ended up being my solution, Mike, was just making the jumps blind. Like that seemed to be the best solution to get through that final section.
And the only good thing is that I can say that the game did in this part is when you do it blind, the game is pretty good about if you just jump, hit circle, hold down circle, and just trust the game, he will make it to where he's supposed to. You just won't really see it, and that's uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very.
Your overcorrection is going to screw you over more than the game will, and that's where I died a lot. Was like just trying to make those jumps. Be like, oh, it's like, don't worry about it. Just let it be.
The worst part is I wouldn't even die. I would fall down, then have to climb back up.
Yeah. that level also has a few moments where they give you a couple alternate paths, and then you choose one, and then you're going down it, and then at some point you get turned around and you start going down the other path, like backwards. Yeah. It's like, oh, there's nothing at the end of this, huh? It's just, oh god, I wasted all this time for nothing.
It was, and that's when I had to use save states, because I could get up there, but I could not finish the last, because there's about 4 different jumps you have to do to get in the top part after you already did all the other climbing. And there was I couldn't do it. And I was getting so frustrated because I would get to the very top and miss the last jump. I'm like, I need to practice this one jump. And it's still, even with save states, it took me 3 or 4 tries of just practicing that jump to get it to work. And I'm like, I just didn't want to climb anymore. And if I would have died, it wouldn't have been a big deal because it would have then spawned me close by to where I could have practiced the jumps. But I kept not dying. I kept just falling on a bottom platform and have to go about another minute and climb back up and do a few and then I would it wasn't getting the practice I needed in. I was just doing the things I knew how to do, and I'm like, save state time.
It's like 3 blind wall runs you have to do in a row.
Yeah.
I think. And they're all angled jumps, too.
And I watched a video, and what he did is in the very last one, he runs more to the side than jumps. But I couldn't get that to work for me when I tried it. But I just couldn't. Because it's just really difficult. When I first got it, I was like, fuck yes. Save state. Never do this again. It was one bad part of a decent game. But again, it's PS2 era, so maybe it wouldn't have been a big deal to us back then.
I was trying to think about that as far as if I had bought this for $50 in 2004, would I have been disappointed or not? Because it's very short. It's not, but at the same time, Devil May Cry was also short. A lot of games of the era were, short like this. But I don't know that it had the replay value of some of the other character action games that I was into at the time. So I feel like I might have been a little disappointed. But in 2024, it was a breath of fresh air. Playing something that was short, sweet. Had really cool combat, really cool style to it. And, it was very not concerned about trying to tell a very, overarching story or anything like that. And actually made me laugh out loud multiple times because of the story that is there.
It's a story that's very much just the rote cliche things. And the voice acting's very much like that martial arts, like Hong Kong dub style.
Yeah, big ups to the English voice actor for your master, because he understood the assignment perfectly. He really feels every dubbed master of a Chinese movie, kung fu movie that you've ever seen. And, the ending. I don't know if we want to jump ahead, but
sure,
that had me laughing really hard. One, because I was expecting there to be a final phase for the boss. But it just ends, and then cut to just these 2 moons clashing together, and then Lao riding through space on I don't know, not a cloud, but it was very Kintoon-esque from Dragon Ball, but just flying through space back to Earth, or wherever this game takes place. And the end. That's it.
Yeah.
No resolution. Fuck you. Like,
He got his revenge. That's all you need.
yeah, his revenge on his friend that was also bent on revenge for stuff. And I don't know. Like, I thought the main character had more motivation than just that, but no, that's all it was. Like,
He
It's
saved
one of those-
Yofa. That happened.
One of those things you don't think about too hard. I think. I mean,
oh no, yeah.
You weren't here for the story.
When you
Which
get
is totally valid. You know, like,
yeah.
I love my story-based games. I love Xenogears. I love RPGs, but just having this as a nice counterpoint really makes a nice, full-rounded breakfast of video games.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I would have enjoyed it even more if there was less story. Like if they really took like that 8 and 16-bit, layout to like the nth degree, where it's just like the game starts with like a very quick like here's who you are, here's what your goal is, go, and then there's no more story until like the very end. Like I actually think that would have like been even better because that's kind of just what it feels like. It's like the story is only here to loosely explain why you're going through these levels. Like it doesn't, like you don't need it.
Yeah.
And I'm the biggest story guy, but like there was something refreshing about. No, we're just here to like have some stylish action and look like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon sometimes.
Now the other thing that's interesting is you get a hub world too.
Yes.
I did like that. I mean, you just have the temple you always start in that then has different mirrors that will lead you to different sets of levels, and you can pick a stage. You can also redo a stage as much as you want, right? Just to get.
And you get more pearls or whatever it is. Yeah,
That is cool.
Yeah, you can max out all your stats and just like go at it and like get all your spells and everything.
I mean, you do get new spells too as the game progresses. Like you would find them as you're exploring. I got some here and there, but I didn't mess with spells really because they just didn't seem. I didn't like them.
Sometimes they were really helpful, like when you up your attack and things like that. But I would say that's only for when you're really struggling.
Yeah, I didn't rely on them as much as I did for say like the God of War games or like similar action games. I did appreciate that like when you're on the frozen mountaintop, there's like health orbs that are frozen in ice blocks, and if you use your fireball spell, like you'll melt the ice and you can get the health. Because in that area in particular, like your health is constantly ticking away. So that was kind of neat.
I thought that was cute.
That ice level is probably one of my favorites, just because of like how weird it is and like the layout of that like temple area inside of it. I don't know what it is about it that I've always liked so much.
It was good.
Like because I think it's like you have that second level of doors to get to, but it kind of doesn't really tell you about it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of things you can explore and figure it out on your own.
I had a lot of trouble with that level, and that was, I think, a big part of that was that I definitely would go through a door and be like, wait, I've been here. I was like, oh wait, no, this is like another part of the level. But I did like that kind of center area where it all of a sudden it's like kind of weirdly like alien futurist thing in this mountain. Like the game's all over the place, like aesthetically, and I kind of dig it.
Yeah, just kind of like
statement.
What's cool? What can we put in a level?
Yeah, exactly.
I like these floating platform things and whatnot, and we'll make this enemy look like a lion for some reason.
Yeah.
I got confused in that level and had to watch it. That was when I first had to watch a YouTube video because I didn't realize you had to like climb up a platform on a wall and then wall jump and then do a blind glide to get to where you needed to go. And I couldn't figure that out until the internet told me. Because it's just not something that I would have thought of.
It's also like the most like Devil May Cry 1 of any of the levels where like, you need these items to progress. And so like the progression of the level is, fight through these enemies, get to the key that you need, then double back, put that key in the slot, and then that opens up the next part of the path, and then move forward and rinse and repeat.
It does it in a way, though, that doesn't feel super taxing. And I feel like playing Resident Evil or Devil May Cry, sometimes I feel taxed to do those things.
Yeah, it's not quite like a FromSoft design as far as like allowing you like shortcuts to like kind of move forward a little faster, but it's almost there. Like there's not as much backtracking as those other games.
Like it'll loop around the right way eventually if you get the thing that you need to get.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, that door's just over there. Let me just glide over there. And I think that like for as difficult as the level design can be, they clearly did think about some things, which is nice.
For sure. So when I'm getting frustrated with games, I'll like kind of have a discussion with the designers. And when I was playing the Air Temple level, and I would get through like because it's broken up into like multiple fairly samey sections with a lot of like tough platforming, and the way that Bujangai works with if you fall off a platform, you don't die, but you do lose health, and it brings you back to the platform you were on. But when I would get through to the end of a section, there would be like a health orb there, and I was like, every time I would say like, yeah, you guys knew this was bullshit. Like that's why this is here.
That is fair.
You do have to commend them for all like the little details they thought about, but yeah, they also very clearly wanted you to struggle.
There's a few. It wasn't until later on that I realized you could almost infinite wall climb in this game. Like you can just keep running up walls.
Yeah, which helped me out in a few places because it allowed me to circumvent some of the platforming. I was like, nope, I'm just going to brute force this.
You can also just keep attacking enemies, like forever if you want to. Basically, if you can keep juggling them.
I did notice that. Yeah, that you can just keep that going like long after like you depleted their health bar.
Yes. The Wikipedia is very proud about being like, yes, you can hit them in excess of 1,000 hits. I would love to see the person that can actually pull that off consistently and like just juggle enemies over and over and over until they're just like getting to the thousands.
That's for those sickos who come from like the fighting game world and also get really into character action games where they're labbing these really elaborate combos that you would never have any reason to use in the game because yeah, the enemies will be dead like 1,000 times over, but it's all about if they can do it or not.
Well, at that point, it becomes more like ballet. I would think.
Yeah, definitely looks that way. Yeah,
yeah, because like I think that's the really nice thing about LoW is like animation quibbles aside, a very graceful move person.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I was very impressed with like all of the combat actions and. As much as I have a problem with like the implementation of his traversal stuff, it always looks amazing. It's just like I said, I think that the levels aren't really conducive to how freely he can move. It actually reminded me a little bit of Prince of Persia 2008, where and that game I think those levels are really like built around that traversal, but it was the same type of elegance and like grace that I remember from Prince of Persia 2008.
No, that's fair. I mean, once I understood how had I watched the tutorials, like understood the way that you could traverse. Like there was a point, like you'd see like platforms you could jump on. You would see things where like oh, you can jump on these bars, and later on I realized I don't need to do this. I can just run across the wall and like run up the wall continuously as long as there isn't a stupid little like roof that he can't progress.
Mm-hmm.
Which I appreciate that they did it because it did make it so that way you couldn't get over stuff. Like, so you couldn't just do what I was trying to do at times. So, like, I didn't have a problem with it. But, no, I really enjoyed the platforming in this game as it progressed. Like, once I understood what I was doing, I'm like, this is pretty fun. It just took a while before I understood it because I did tutorials.
I think more games should do tutorials like that. Like, if you want to delve in and get the full thing, just play me a video. Just show me exactly what to do.
Because this is a game, I feel, where you really need tutorials. Because there's just so much to this game that I don't think you should... you need that stuff to tell you what to do.
Yes.
Yeah, this game is... Like, I don't know if hopefully we've, like, got it across, but it's a very unique type of character action game. And I think we kind of have glossed over, like, one of the main mechanics, which is that, like, defensive... The clashing thing, which was my favorite part of the combat, which is you have X number of defensive crystals, and if you take an attack head on, Lao will automatically like deflect it with his blade up to the number of crystals that you have. And while he's doing that, you can press a button to do a thing. So like if you press the attack button, he'll do this really cool and flashy like counter move. If you press the jump button, he'll flip over the enemy and then you're behind them.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for the humanoid enemies that can also do that, like the jump over them was like key for me because I would clash, flip over them, and while they were still mid-attack, I would just go to town and kind of completely circumvent their defenses. Yeah. And that's and also there's like with magic stuff, you can like do this really cool like like you'll like kind of almost like Dragon Ball style, like kind of absorb the attack for a while, and then you can like send it back as like a really cool like projectile move. That stuff is really awesome, but it's not super clear if you didn't like go through the tutorial. But like that is like the most unique thing about the combat, and it's kind of a double-edged sword because at least on easy, and I would imagine even on like the harder difficulties, it does trivialize a lot of the enemies because you will not take damage if you're getting hit head on as long as you have those crystals, those defensive crystals like on hand. So you can actually mitigate a ton of damage as long as you're not getting overwhelmed and get hit from behind.
I would say, like, for harder difficult, like, for playing on normal, like I was doing this time, there are definitely enemies where it kind of trains you to do those moves specifically to, you know, like the sword masters that would pop up every now and then as, like, mini bosses.
Yeah.
Like, you know, jump around them, get behind them, and start attacking them. But, like, for the normal enemies, I just really like the basic flashiness of just having them a clash, and then they'll take some of your defense crystals down, they'll take down their defense crystals, and then you'll inevitably win most of the time because they have less than you. So then you just start hacking at them and just killing them.
Yeah.
And like that I think the clash and parry is so satisfying on its own that
oh yeah,
I didn't really feel the need to do like the jump behind unless I really wanted to or like the game wanted me to.
I just think it's cool that like what I did is I would like block and then I would like, because I didn't know you could jump over them, I would step aside to them, let them, and then hit them that way for those humanoid enemies that kept countering me. Because I also didn't upgrade my defense so late in this game, so I couldn't go toe-to-toe sometimes because they would win.
Right. Yeah, the fight that you have inexplicably with your master that just like shows up like, you know,
randomly,
apropos of nothing was like one of my favorite boss fights in the game because it just looked so cool.
Yes, like if nothing else, this game is just that moment of those clashing swords, and then like when you hit the button and the WoW manages to counter, and just like the way the like effects are just kind of flying around them, and the sword colors and the arcs and everything, like that key image I think is what makes this game really cool, like
for
above
sure.
all else.
I also didn't even realize you could, because there were times when I get like a fireball shot at me and he would start to block it, but I didn't know you could send it back somehow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I never did that.
Oh.
And I'm watching a speedrun where he's fighting the lion boss that you fight like what 2 or 3 times in this game, annoyingly. But you can you can send his magic back at him. Like, oh, I did not know that.
It melts their health too. Like it does so much damage.
Like they do provide you with different options of how you want to proceed and like what your play style is. Like it's not super like geared toward it, but it's just like, here are some options. Take what you want to do what you want.
And I appreciate that. Like, again, I mean, I didn't watch the videos because I didn't think I need to. I'm like, I've played enough action games. I know how to do this. I'll figure it out. And I was wrong.
I think
I'm okay with that.
I think this actually brings up an interesting conversation about, because sometimes when games go all in on like giving choice, like a game that will do stances, you know, where it's like you could do this stance or this stance or this stance, and this is your moveset. I kind of get annoyed.
Same.
Because it's kind of funneling me down a specific tunnel when I would just rather have the open-endedness of, here are a bunch of options, pick and choose what you want to do. And if you want to switch over, you're free to do that without like any major like form switching or stance switching, you know, button combo you have to press. It just feels more open-ended and organic this way versus like having to consciously change something and like go down a different path. It just feels more linear and annoying to me that way.
I don't like a lot of choice in video games. I've said this before many times. And this game didn't give me a whole lot of choice. Like, not in the idea where you said you can get locked out, or just in general, just having too many options to know what to do. This felt nice because I don't want a lot of options. Then I'll get irritated. But I'm a different type of gamer, I think. So.
Yeah, I was missing, you know, like having like multiple weapons or move sets and stuff like that. But the gameplay is so unique compared to a lot of other games of the time that it didn't actually bother me all that much. And as I was playing it, I kept thinking, this game has so many good ideas, and like the actual overall game is just like it's especially with like the level design, and I think like the way the platforming is implemented within those levels. Like, it's just kind of missing a little bit. And I was like, man, if this game had a sequel, like, they could have, like, fleshed out so much of this stuff. And, man, that could have been something really special. As it is, I think this game is definitely worth playing. but for me, it was definitely like a lot of like really great ideas, that are almost there and not, not quite cohesive. But I could see that it being fleshed out and being like kind of an all-timer.
Had this been an early 360 game, I think this would be remembered today.
Wouldn't
Agreed.
be or would be?
It would be. It would have like that early 360 vibe, like Ninja Blade or something like that, where people will kind of like bring it up on occasion, because that was the generation of like really embracing B games, like Two Worlds and Deadly Premonition. And like this isn't like I don't think this is as qualitatively like iffy as some of those games.
No, this ran. Unlike Two Worlds.
But like there's enough here that I think that there would be a cult following if it just had that, like, if
100%.
people were just in tuned into it like that.
Well, and
the
achievements.
PS2, as great as it was, didn't have that same appeal.
Like
those games are there, but no one's searching them out.
I definitely think that, like, the market, the marketing or lack thereof didn't do it any favors. And it's also late in the PS2's lifespan, right? Where it's only a year out from the Xbox 360 launch. But also, the name doesn't really tell you anything. The box art doesn't, it's not standing out or anything like that. And yeah, I definitely think that, like, if they had waited until the 360, it probably would have stood out a little bit more. Especially because, like, the Japan output was so weak then.
Yeah. Is the Forsaken City the better title? Because in Japan, it's just called Bujangai. And in Europe, it's Bujangai Swordmaster.
I like Bujangai Swordmaster, honestly.
Same. I think Swordmaster is better.
Yeah. That tells you more about what it is.
Yeah. The box art shows the PS2 European thing on Wikipedia. I think that looks cooler too, because it's just like Lau with a sword in front of his face.
Yeah,
like
that's what you want. Yeah, it like half of the American box art is just the title on a black background, and then it's this image of Lau looking over that first level, which again, like, I don't know why that's significant. Like, it, you're only there once. And
I never realized that was Lau looking at the level.
Yeah. It's hard to see him. It's a weird choice for cover art.
Yeah, I don't. This game the cover art does not jump out at me for anything.
Yeah.
Hell, again, if it wasn't for you guys, for Dominic, for you pushing this game, I never would have played it.
Yeah, but Dominic, I think you're spot on. Like, the 360 was kind of that last bastion of like this tier of game, and I've been like really I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I guess probably because like the 360 digital store is about to close as we're recording this. But I've been thinking about like, oh man, yeah, like, games like Wet and Bullet Witch and Matt Hazard or Eat Lead, the
I like that
Matt
game.
Hazard, like, Golden Axe Beast Rider. I am such a huge Golden Axe Beast Rider apologist. Like, so many of those games, like, I have such fond feelings for, and they're all kind of in this tier of just like they're B tier for sure, and they're rough around the edges, but man, they've got some cool shit in there too.
Well, I feel like a lot of those games show like a passion and a like those developers typically are really good. It's just that the game didn't quite come together. There's a lot of interesting ideas. It just kind of failed at this point or that point. Like, you don't get a Nier without getting a Bullet Witch, because that's all Kavia.
Right.
I have Bullet
Like,
Witch.
you don't get a Nier without Project Winback 2 of all things.
I never played Winback 2. I was a big fan of the original.
Winback 2 was fine, but
it's no spy fiction.
God, I've never played that either, but I've almost had it on the show multiple times because one of my previous co-hosts was trying to get me to do it. We just never got around to it. To go back to what you guys were saying,
game or a sweary game? I can't remember.
It's a sweary game. Spy fiction is for sure. Oh, but I do want to make a comment about
Suda or a sweary game. I can't remember.
Sweary.
Okay.
But I do want to make a comment about what you were saying about like 360 era. I think if this was 360, this would have done better. One, achievements got people to play games that they never would have played otherwise, just because like the whole like excitement for achievements. Hell, it made me play games I wouldn't have played before. I know that for sure, because I'd be like, well, I'll just go get achievements. Fuck it. Like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
So having that there, I think would have brought value.
That was the era where like Death Smiles coming out was a huge deal for some reason.
Yeah.
Like cute anime girls, maybe? I don't know.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was looking up my 360 games on Game Collector just to see like, because now like some of the stuff is starting to go up, and yeah, my complete version of Death Smiles is one of the pricier 360 games that I own.
Did you know that the sequel to Death Smiles is an Xbox Store exclusive?
Yes, I never got around to playing it, but yeah, it was just
and
released
it's
digitally,
Japanese
right?
only.
Yeah,
Japanese only too.
It's crazy.
I need to pick that up before the store totally shuts down the store.
But also one thing that
But no, like this game was really cool.
that stuff will still live in other ways. I have found out a lot of Xbox Live Arcade games have been saved.
That's
ways.
good.
So they're around. Like I know that's one thing people always talk about. Like, oh, they're there. Like one game that, speaking of games that don't exist anymore, that I really want to play, and I'll bring up any chance I get. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles for the Wii. My Life as a King, a game that I think about for some weird reason more than I should. It exists. Like it's there. I just haven't bothered to figure out how to make it work on a controller instead of a Wiimote. Otherwise, I would definitely replaying it. I mean, it wouldn't be hard. I just haven't bothered to do it. But yeah, no, games don't. They don't.
You think about My Life as a King a lot. I think about Bujangai a lot. I understand.
See, I never played Bujangai until a week ago, where My Life as a King, I bought it on the WiiWare on my first Wii that my girlfriend at the time took with her when she left, and never finished it. So I always think about like, oh man, I want to play this someday. Yeah. I mean, sometimes games just come at the right time. Did you play this back in 2004? No, you said you got this like 2011, Dominic?
Well, you cut out for me. I'm sorry. What was that?
No, it's okay. My internet is being crabby, I think. I was saying, you played this in 2011, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, games that come at the right time, they just kind of stick with you. Or do you have anything else?
I said, like, the game store I went to, like, it had this, it had, like, Red Dead Revolver, a bunch of games that I really got into for some reason at the same time. So I don't know if I was just really receptive at that point, or I don't know. But it was a really cool find for the time.
I need to play Red Dead Revolver someday.
It's cool.
On my list to get to. Maybe I might do it next year because I got two.
It's a real creaky game.
The what kind of game?
It's a game that feels like it's going to fall apart at the seams if you like look the wrong way.
That's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind like janky games, to be honest. Like in general, like some of my favorite gaming experiences have been just random 360 crap, like that I just played out of nowhere.
Absolutely.
Achievement. Like Eat Lead, Return of Mad Hazard. Fucking loved that game when I played it back in the day. The 360 era. That was fun.
My thing about Eat Lead is that I wish that they had gotten even cheesier with it. Like, I wish that all of the scenes with Neil Patrick Harris's character in the real world was just FMV of Neil Patrick Harris. So then when he like digitizes himself and goes into the game, it was more impactful because it's actually like now there's like a 3D version of his character. Like, I thought that would have been really cool. Like, they could have gone further with how dumb that game was. It's so good though.
I did not remember he was in that game. I need to replay it.
He's the main villain. Yeah.
I remember playing Mad Hazard a lot on PS3 because that was a game I bought from like when Blockbusters were closing in like 2008. Like, oh, this Mad Hazard game, I've heard of this. Yeah. And that was like an early PS3 game for me.
I love the elevator bit. I love that they do the send up of the loading elevator in Mass Effect where you're on that elevator for a really long time. Like a really long time, and then you get to the top and he's like, yeah, it was a long elevator ride. What of it?
I enjoy stupid shit like that too. So
yeah.
I don't know. One day I'll probably appreciate it more now that I've played more video games since then because of this podcast I have become more of a video game connoisseur, historian, whatever word we want to use here. Like, I have experienced so much more and have went out of my comfort zone multiple times and still do this, for example. And just, so I also play it. I'll probably enjoy some of the references and jokes and stuff they do even more than I did back in 2010, 11 when I played it.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I think, isn't the Mad Hazard sequel only on like XBLA and PS3 like store?
Yes.
That's another one to get before the store closes.
I should grab that actually, yeah, because I've never actually played it, and I love that first one like too much to not get it.
Forget that's coming. When is that coming? When are the stores being shut down?
It's really soon as we're recording this. I want to say we've got like 2 weeks.
Oh. It's either the 21st or the 28th of July, I believe.
At least they're warning people.
It's sooner than I thought. I need to do that after we get off this call.
At least they warn people, though. Like, I hate it when stores shut down. They don't warn. Like, give people time. Like, let people make that decision if they want it or not. Like,
yeah.
I'm curious now about something else. But all right, any last things you want to say about this game, or should we go? I think we're getting to the point where we're running out of stuff to say. So
I just want to bring up the thing of they did say there was going to be a sequel at some point. It got a positive reception enough that the thing there would be, but it never happened. They were going to do an MMO at one point. That also didn't happen.
Oh, okay.
But that's really about it.
That's a weird. I mean, I get. It was definitely like the right time when like everybody was wanting to make an MMO, but this is a really weird thing to want to make an MMO around because there is nothing like as far as world building or anything in this to glom onto.
Yeah.
I'm sure we learned all about the Forsaken City and the environmental crisis that created the post-apocalyptic world that it's all technically set in.
Oh yeah, there was something like that, wasn't there?
It's a post-apocalyptic. See, yeah, like there's not even like because I bought a physical copy. And I was looking through the instruction manual. Props to the publisher for doing a full color manual. I like very cool.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that for this tier of game. But there's not even like a story synopsis in the instruction manual, which like that's like bare minimum. I was floored about like the lack of like setup for this game.
And the 360 store closes on July 29th.
29th. Okay.
And I cannot find. I'm looking at places that I travel to. Okay, yeah, it's out there. So it exists. I did find it. It took me a little bit. I had to go places I don't go, but it exists. So one of those things. I mean, I think once the 360 store is completely gone and the PS3 store, all that stuff is like becomes abandonware essentially. It will appear on the internet more. Like the 360 emulation still really isn't there yet. But PS2 emulation, because I did play this on PS2 emulator, but I do want to mention that PS2 emulation actually got way better because they finally released a upgraded PS2 PCX2 into 2.0, so things run better now than they did. So emulation and video game preservation got a little better for PS2.
Yeah, if my repeated appearances on Games My Mom Found, like if you can trace anything to them, it is my slow changing opinion on emulation, because I actually did like start looking up PS2 emulation like after I played Bujangai, simply because I've got two PS2s that are both in various states of disrepair that I think my other PS2, like one of the controller ports doesn't work. And as I was playing Bujangai, the game was giving me like it would randomly like pause the game and say like can't detect the controller, and I'm like it's still plugged in. And I had to like unplug and like plug the controller back in a couple times, and it's like, man, like yeah, like there are definitely like scenarios where like it would actually be easier to run an emulated version of the game that I have. So definitely starting to look into it more and more, where I used to be like completely anti emulation in all forms, but like especially with as we've seen, like so many games are just like not available anymore, right? Like there's definitely like more and more reasons that I see to like support it.
Because I have a rule of thumb. If I can buy it on Steam or buy it new, usually Steam, I will buy the game. I'll still emulate it, like Prince of Persia, just because I want save states, but I will buy your game if you let me. But I will not go on eBay and give some sucker that's been holding on to the game for 20 years my money. Like, that's not happening.
Like, I'll do that, but I also understand the need for emulation. I've also come around a lot on it in the last several years, because I was also very much, don't emulate it, get the people your money. And now it's like, well, the industry isn't taking care of its own, and it's not making sure these games remain playable. And PS2 and GameCube only last so long.
Yeah.
I mean, they really don't care with old games. I mean, that's just the sad part of it. They don't give a shit.
Like, I remember when we played Graffiti Kingdom, I had to buy a new PS2 because my last one just didn't work anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is that I'm starting to realize is that, like, yeah, the hardware is becoming definitely, like, the pain point as we move forward. Like, playing Bujangai, I was like, I need to go look for, like, I need to get a new PS2 soon. Which sucks, because I've been wanting to actually buy a Japanese PS2 so that I can like start playing import games again, mainly PS1 import games. But I think I'm just gonna have to get two PlayStation 2s. I need to get a new slim US model that's like completely functional, because I've got a shit ton of PS2 games. Like I don't want those to just not be playable.
I know what you mean. I've thought about selling my PS2 collection multiple times, because I'm like, all I do is emulate, but at the same point, I just can't get myself to part with them. I like having them there. I like knowing I own a physical copy of the game that I'm pirating.
Yeah.
I mean, I also like, since we're on the emulation shop, like I will not touch Switch. Like to me, that like I feel like that's legit pirating when you're playing something that can easily be bought brand new in one way or another. But like anything like PS2 and before, I feel no remorse, especially when it doesn't exist. Like this game, like this is never going to be re-released because someone doesn't want to pay GAC. So
right.
And it's
so you played Hyrule Warriors and Alan Wake 2 on legit hardware.
Yeah. Alan Wake 2 is on a PS5 and Hyrule Warriors Age Calamity I bought on Switch. Apparently, well, my wife bought it for me. Apparently used, which I thought was funny because I'm like, oh my gosh, she's just like me, smart. And if it's out there in it, I will buy it somewhere new, GameStop. Like I will pay, I will not pirate. No, that's too new. I don't even really pirate 360 yet. One, because it's not really big. I mean, it's starting to be an emulation, but 360, I have, there's a lot of those games will exist in either PC or were re-released or something. I mean, at least the ones I've done on the show so far. So I will play them that way. I mean, if we were talking about, I mean, I'm sure there's games that I could look at right now that don't exist in any shape or form. Condemned 2, I would play legit 360 PS3 cop. But again, that's another game that never got re-released on Steam or anything else. Like, there's a few on there. Blue Dragon, one I really want to play, but I don't want to hook up my 360 again. Doesn't exist anywhere else.
Yeah. Microsoft should do more with it.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Blue Dragon, thankfully, is at least like on backwards compatibility on Xbox, so that's nice. Like Condemned 2 is not. You can play Condemned 1 back compat, but because I was going through the store, earlier, like looking, like because I did look for some 360 stuff just in case, and I almost rebought Condemned simply because I love Condemned, but I was like, oh no, I have the disc for that, so I can just pop that in to my Xbox and run it.
The weird thing is something like Bionic Commando Rearmed, where Rearmed 2 is backwards compatible, but Rearmed 1 is not.
Yeah, it gets weird like that.
Like, one thing I realized that kind of upset me is, like, I bought so many games on the 360 arcade store. I'm like, I'll get to these someday, or at least I'll have, have ways to play them. But I also switched the licenses at one point on my 360 to a different 360, which I don't have anymore because I moved and got kicked out of where I was living. I left it there for my son, and then I was like, okay, I'll get it back someday. And then it disappeared eventually. Because of my son, but it disappeared, and I'm just like, I kind of want that back now. Like, at least all the licenses were there, so I could. But at the same time, you couldn't download them, so it wouldn't matter. But that's another thing where I'm like, yeah, emulation, because all that stuff will eventually be out there on emulation, so people can play it because you can't buy it anymore.
Yeah, we got to make sure that people are able to play that Yaris Xbox Live Arcade game.
Hey, the Doritos Crash Course game.
To get. That was like delisted in like 2008 or 9. I feel like.
Yeah,
it was.
Along with the actual car.
So was the Doritos Godzilla game. I forgot what it was called. That was kind of fun too, for free.
Crash Course, yeah. I think there's a couple of.
There's 3 of them.
Oh, 3?
There's
Holy
2
shit.
Crash Course games, and there's also one where you're like a Godzilla thing running around.
That's
Those
funny.
are the days. Hey, I actually have all the Burger King games. Sneak King. I actually bought all 3 of those stupid things.
Yeah, I've still got them.
I love 360. That's the era when I fell into game collecting and loved it more than anything. And then I'm out of physical now completely, really. I buy some, but I'm mostly digital. Switch, I buy physical because if I can, I'll buy physical, but I'm a PC gamer now all the way.
I like physical because it's just easy to be like, I have these games, I can play all of these, and I can just choose one. It's just something about having just that focus I really like.
Yeah, the fun of owning physical has gone away a lot since starting with like the PS4 generation, where it's like, even with a physical copy, like you still got to install it.
Yeah,
you can't just pop the disc in and go. You've always got to wait. And so at this point, I'm 100% digital on Xbox. I have not bought a single physical Xbox game in 7 or 8 years at this point. And then I'm still physical on PlayStation simply because I kind of don't trust Sony to keep my stuff digitally. What?
I completely get it.
And I'm physical on Switch also because I like those little cartridges. I like those little cases. They're neat. They're very cute.
All right.
I'm worried that's going to bite me in the ass with the next Switch though. Like I can 100% see a scenario where it's a different format and they just don't have like a cartridge slot for the old games because fuck you, buy them again. I could totally see that happening.
Same.
We'll see.
All right, let's go on to questions, comments, memories. I don't have a lot, but I have a few. I watched the entire Orblood Super Replay. I have one from Alex Wilkins. For some reason, I thought this was something to do with Perfect Dark at first, because he just saw the cover photo. Thank you, sir, for responding. And from the official Laser Time community, I have two. From Greg Moore, I'm a big fan of this. The PS2 had so many interesting character action games. This one was from the very underrated Red Entertainment, who have done all sorts of cool stuff. Sakura War series, several of the best Turbo Graphics games, Gungrave, Blood Will Tell. Bujangai isn't as polished as something like Devil May Cry, but I think they really achieved something with the sword combat. The fluidity of the back and forth sword clashing feels really cool and looks incredible. Level design was a weak point, and the platforming feels awful at first, but once you get a feel for it, it's pretty enjoyable in my opinion. I tried to show the game to my friend back in the day and ended up stuck in the same jumping sequence for 2 hours. He fell asleep.
Damn.
That's interesting. I don't remember the name Red Entertainment, but I definitely know like the games that he mentioned. So that's interesting. I guess the name just never like stuck with me because, you know, definitely PS2 was like the height of my retail days and like me going to E3 and also like reading like every magazine I could get my hand on. So like there's just something about that company just completely like went under my radar.
I mean, Sakura Wars on PS2 was a huge deal because that was like the last major PS2 game in like 2010 to get localized.
Mm.
I remember Sakura Wars so long. I think I have. Maybe I have. I don't know. I can't. Yeah, Okay, most of their games are Japanese games that didn't come here. That's from the look of it. I mean, some of their PS2 stuff did. They did a Trigun game that never came here. Yeah, a lot of their stuff didn't come overseas. That's why.
Unless you like
Blood Will
Record of
Tell
Agarest
is
War.
one that I wish that I had picked up back in the day.
I'm just looking through their games right now. They did a lot of just Japanese exclusive games, so that's why we don't know them. They did Twisted Tales of Spike McFang for Super Nintendo.
Oh man, I love that game.
They did Thousand Arms.
I love that game. Okay, yeah, just the name just never stuck with me over the years. Interesting.
I've never played Thousand Arms. I've had it on my list to get to forever. Never. Oh, they did Blood Will Tell, which has also been on my list to play for the show because one of my previous co-hosts was always trying to push to put it on, but we never did it.
Yeah.
Should play that one day.
I regret not picking that game up.
Oh, and one other comment from this group from Ivan Williams. I seem to remember X-Play making fun of the name. Yeah, not making fun of the name, but he posted the X-Play episode. God, X-Play did not age well because they're like, is it Gaijin Guy or Gaijin Girl? And just or Bujin Guy or Bujin Girl, and they just do that whole segment like we can't tell. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
But that was 2004 for you. X-Play really was not good.
No, it wasn't. But it was all you had.
Yeah. I watched a ton. I remember really enjoying it, but I've looked back at like some of the clips and I'm like, this is not great. And I'm pretty sure Adam Sessler went nuts too on the internet years later.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Like, if you're somewhat famous, maybe don't post things on the internet that, you know, would be controversial. Even a guy who's not famous at all, me, who makes a podcast, I'm careful not to say stuff that I'm not like, you know, should I not put that out there? Like, no. I mean, I always think about that too. I'm not famous. Like, he was on a freaking TV. Like, you're famous enough. Like, be careful. All right, from the Giant Bomb Group, I got a couple comments from Tom Rokins. I have literally never heard of this game.
Love that.
And from Autumn Severe, you need to talk to Sergio in the Overblood group. I know he played it earlier this year. I was going to give it a try because I like Gak, but his impressions warmed me off of it. I'm still tempted, though. Sergio's impressions of it. I told her, like, play it. It's a cool game. And from the last group, PlayStation 2, PS2 group, I got a comment. Didn't expect this. From Hollington Affluencer, I have played it before. It is cool. Somebody commented. I mean, I knew this was, I'm like, I am not going to get much over on this game because as a guy who loves games, I barely ever heard of this game. So
this is one of your more obscure picks for the main show, and I really appreciate you doing it.
Hey, actually, I try to do some here and there, so the show isn't just, you know, I try to have some of that bizarre stuff in here. Like in Spooktober, I'm doing Cold Fear as one of the episodes.
That's not Cold Fear is more well known.
Yeah, that PS2. We have RE4 at home game. Yeah, I'm doing it, and I think that's the only one that's really like kind of a deep cut on the Spooktober list that I'm doing, and Soma, but Soma's probably more well known too. Nanimusha 3. I mean, that's probably more well known too. So yeah, you're right. This is probably one of the deeper cuts that I have probably the rest of the year. No, I'm doing God Hand the end of this year. That's another deep cut.
People know what God Hand is.
God Hand has at least like gotten a cult following over the years. Like, but yeah, but no, like like I said, like looking this game up on YouTube after I finished it, like there was not a lot, and most of it was just like very small channels with like the videos had like very few views. So like yeah, there's not a lot. Because I half expected there to be like a ton of like niche things with this, that were like really big and stuff like that. It's like no, even that it like this game just kind of is being quietly lost to time. So it's nice to have things like this to remind people of it, especially for people like me who thought it was a completely different game from a different company.
I like to experience games.
I think that's the real reason I wanted to have this too, was to have that attention drawn to it.
Yeah.
Hey, on PS2, now that with the new emulator being upgraded, I'm sure that you probably can play more PS2 games with less dinking around. Mm-hmm. Because I know that was one of people's big issues when it came to PS2 emulation, is that because I've helped a lot of people do emulation that I know, just because like if you want to experience it, it doesn't exist, I'll help you. Like I live in that world. And PS2, there's been some really hard games where I've had to like change multiple settings and play around to see what actually works. And I'm assuming with the new emulator, that's probably not as much of a thing as it was. So, hey, maybe that will get people to play this game that never would have otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And then and stuff like that makes me happy. I want more people to experience games that no one talks about or that you didn't know, just to have that ability to. So I'm always a big guy about that. Like, so I'm happy to showcase a game that maybe 100 people listen to the episode and go, hi, and maybe maybe 10% of people maybe, and somebody will pick it up and play it. Hopefully not buy it on eBay, because I doubt. Was it cheap on eBay?
Yeah, it was like $30-something bucks. It wasn't bad.
Okay, to me that's crazy, but yeah.
Oh no, like
no, I know
that, like yeah, that was definitely like an easy pill to swallow. I wish that the disc was in better shape. It's a complete copy, which I appreciate, but like I said, it was definitely skipping and stuff like that. And I looked at the disc after, I was like, oh yeah, there we go. That's why. Okay, because I was worried it was my PlayStation. It's like, oh no, it's the disc. It's definitely the disc.
Oh, I thought Onimusha 3. No, SPC. Onimusha 3 looks like it's more expensive than. I'm just trying to. $50. Someone's selling it new, but that's new. Okay, Onimusha 3 is not expensive either.
It's gone up a bit, because I think I picked it up like back when we did Onimusha 2, so I've already got mine ready to go, and I definitely spent less than that. But if we do Dawn of I should because I never played Dawn of Dreams, so I should grab that, because that one I know is going up, because like that no one bought that, like that it had such a way smaller print run, and I've always wanted to play it, so I should get on that while
I'll probably. I don't know if that's a spooky game, but I feel like that might be going away from. Well, I mean, Onimusha 3 probably isn't really a spooky game, but you fight demons, close enough.
yeah. I would say definitely by 3, like it's definitely it's as spooky a game as like Resident Evil 3 is, which is to say that like it's really more about mowing down enemies, it in melee form here as opposed to with guns in Resident Evil 3, but. It's not trying to do anything scary or even super gory.
Was Onimusha 1 really a spooky game?
I think so, yes.
I mean, not really, but it definitely hews closer to like that Resident Evil feel, in that first game.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 I felt still had it too. Well, I mean, for me, spooky can also be you're fighting demons. I'm like close enough,
right?
So, I mean, I'm. Some years I go more into more horror games. Like I'm doing Fear 3 as one of my spooky games. I mean, close enough. But okay, Fear 1 and Fear 2 did freak me out multiple times. So
yeah,
there's that. So we'll see.
One last thing I just got to say, because I was thinking about demons in Onimusha, and I guess you're fighting demons here. That's what they call them. But one of the standard enemies that you fight, I swear, looks like a Power Rangers enemy that's based around like an old train, because to me it just looks like the head car of like an old locomotive engine with like the smokestack coming up, and I couldn't unsee it the whole time. It made me laugh every time that I fought one of them.
So that's completely fair. I know what you're talking about. All right, and before we go to Shelf Stacker Box, I want to give away a Steam code. I have it, and I'll give away a better code than some, because less people probably listen to this episode. So, hey, you get a good code if you're still listening. Borderlands 2 Game of the Year Edition. Steam, if you haven't played this or own it. And the Steam code is LC8R6. PJIWPXRHBE. That is your Steam code for Borderlands 2 Game of the Year Edition. All right. And let's go to Shelf Stacker Box. And Julian, why don't you go first?
I'm going to put this firmly in the stack. I don't think it's an essential game. I do think it's a super interesting game. And if you've played, most of the other like high profile character action games of the time, it's definitely worth your time. I think for me, I not to belabor the point, but like I definitely think that the level design and the platforming don't do this game any favors, but the action is very cool, and it definitely nails the Chinese cinema aesthetic that it's going for, which is very cool to see. And if you look at this and it looks interesting to you, I think the upcoming game Phantom Zero is also kind of pulling off this vibe, but in more of a Souls-like package. And I'm looking forward to that one.
And Dominic.
I think I want to put this one on the shelf because, there are some games on the shelf that are like sterling, perfect examples of the console. I think there are some that are just those games that are the workhorses that you can replay over and over and over. And I think this is one of those for me. Like I said, it's very Metroid in the way that I can just blast through it and have a good time, no matter how long it's been and how many times I've done it.
All right. I'll go last. I'm going to put this in the stack. I had a good time. I'll probably never revisit it, but I'm happy that I experienced it and that my story is cataloged forever. So I'm glad you recommended it because I need to go out of my comfort zone and play stuff that I just never got around to or never even, in this case, never knew existed, which I find still strange to this day. That I just never knew this was a game. Oh, thank you, Dominic.
Yeah, thank you. I was glad to play this one.
And
I think Game Informer for publishing a review in the magazine back in the day that made me aware of it.
Yeah, I'm happy to say Game Informer's still around. Surprised, but happy to say.
Yep.
I'm always worried one day GameStop is going to say, no, we're done. You can't.
It's funny because when I got
this episode, we'll see.
When I bought my Xbox Series X, I went through GameStop, and part of that was like joining their Ultimate program, and that came with the physical Game Informer magazine. And I was excited to get a magazine for the first time in a long time, but then when it started coming, I realized how out of habit I've become of like reading stuff in magazine form, and I just didn't really mess with a lot of the issues. But the very telling thing for me was that they didn't even try to like get me to like re-up my subscription to the magazine. It just stopped coming.
It is digital now. So.
It just stopped coming as well, which sucks.
A digital magazine just doesn't seem like something I'm willing to pay for. So,
does it make sense?
I mean, I'm happy that they still exist because I like the people that I know from there, and I think but if they can ever shake off GameStop, I think they're going to be in trouble someday because GameStop is going to go down.
Oh boy, I walked into one for the first time the other day in ages, and man, that's not even a video game store anymore, guys.
No, it's a toy store. That's fine that they did other stuff to survive, but as a corporation, they're bad. Like I know people that have worked at them. I know a guy who quit about a month or two ago, and he hated it, maybe longer now, but he was like, this is terrible. And it's just like, they just didn't evolve. I go to them still quite often. Oh, they sell Pokemon cards now, graded. I forgot they did that now.
Oof.
For Pokemon cards in general. But it's like, I don't see them surviving that much longer. I'm surprised they're still here. I thought they were gone. They were going to be gone years ago, but they just keep somehow making it.
Yep.
No, it's one of those things where I feel like their model is so outdated, and like they're not with the times of even like treating their employees well. Like there's nothing about them that makes them worthy of sticking around.
No, like my buddy who worked there, he said that he once got complained at because he had worked at a store, wasn't that busy sometimes, and they caught him. They saw him on video sitting down because the store was empty. I said, "Why are you sitting down? There's no sitting down. Get up and clean." Like, just that whole idea. Like, like, haven't we come enough? That's like the store's empty.
That shit's so outdated.
Done, you can chill.
Yeah,
people sit down. Let people relax for a second on the job. It doesn't matter.
Man, I had a boss that used to watch cameras when I used to work at jobs. So what I used to do is I would walk around with a spray bottle and paper towels. I didn't clean anything, but I would walk around where I had to keep moving from camera to camera. So if he actually wanted to see what I was doing, he would have to sit there and just keep switching cameras to watch me, and I knew he would be too lazy to do that. But I didn't actually clean anything. I mean, sure, sometimes I might take the paper towel and wipe it on the ground, or wipe it on the table, but there was no spray. I was just fake. I was just like, and I was just faking it because I'm like, this is stupid. Like I would do my nightly cleaning. I'd make sure the place looked good, but it's like I'm not going to sit here and just scrub because you're like, well, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean. And I'm like, well, if you got time to have me sit here and help no employees and pay me, well, you can pay me. Like fuck you. That was just my whole mindset.
That's when you say, manager, why don't you fucking clean? Why don't you do something about it?
But he just hid in his office all day. He didn't even like we'd be busy and he would come out and be like, hey, we're busy. I'm like, yeah, I know, and then go back in his office. He wouldn't actually like.
Yeah,
he
that's
didn't
not
like
fucking leadership. That's the problem.
Piece of shit. So, and then my favorite was when he complained to me that I was working too much overtime, and I'm like, you scheduled me 50 hours. I'm just working what you scheduled me. I don't want to be here. Like we don't have people. I'm here, and he was upset. He had to pay me so much overtime. I'm like, then you do it. You're salaried. Like that's why he wouldn't do it. Fucking hated that job. I hated him. Like the job, hated him.
So many people don't deserve management duties.
No. They just get there because of one reason or another. So, from what I heard, he was decent until he became salaried, and then he could not handle the idea of working extra and not getting paid. Which I get it. I was salaried once at Burger King as assistant manager, and after 3 months, I handed my keys, said, fuck you, and left. So, I get it, but he was, like, it's time to go sometime. All right. Enough of that. I should hear what we're talking about next week. Next week, you can hear me talk about Alan Wake 2, probably the newest game in this podcast. So, yeah, go listen to that.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Herald of Darkness for the win. Holy shit. Love that game.
That game is something else so far. I haven't played it much, unfortunately, which I need to change in the next week. But that's a game, all right, that more horror than I was expecting. Because Alan Wake isn't really that much of a horror game, but...
Yeah, Alan Wake 2 definitely leans into it hard. It got me a couple times, and I'm pretty desensitized to horror at this point, but... Man, I really love Remedy and Alan Wake 2 and all of the stuff around it like really made me appreciate Sam Lake as a game director. Like he's up there with like Kojima for me now, and like Sam Lake visited Kojima Productions recently, and I'm like, yes, work together, please do something. Like that would be like a dream job or dream project for me to see what you guys come up with together. Do it.
Yeah, I like
and it's all for Vincent, don't worry.
That's fine with me. Yeah.
And Dominic, where can people find you at?
You find me on the Distant Waves podcast on YouTube. I'm also in the Overblood Facebook group. I'm also on Twitter at DACICHOCKI.
And Julian.
You can find me weekly on the Stage Select podcast. It is a video game variety show, as I said at the beginning. Short pitch is basically like The Muppet Show, but for video games. We have weird skits and characters. Come meet our stage manager, who is a rescued, unused From Software NPC that's very glad to have been rescued from the poison swamps. Abramo, our stoner janitor. Other characters probably as we go. Video game masterpiece theater. All sorts of weird shenanigans going on. You can find the show on Twitter at Stage Select Pod. You can find me on Twitter at Julian_Titus. But come check the show out. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a labor of love, and we're still kind of finding like our overall footing and identity. But as we go, it's getting wackier and wackier, and that's what I was hoping for.
I'm glad that everything's going strong for you.
Yeah.
That you can actually see all your numbers and see what you do. It's nice. And you will see a link to both of those gentlemen's podcasts in the show notes. Definitely go check them out and support them. And if you want to support us, we do have a Patreon. Little dog vote in our Patreon poll. We have 1 to 2 every month. So definitely go check that out. And at the time you're hearing this, we're about to be going to Spooktober, so there'll be nothing but spooky polls. So if you want to affect what spooky movies I'm forced to watch, you can do that for a little $1 a month. So goes, and you do get video content once in a great while. If I here and there, I do it. Not often, but it's there sometimes. So definitely go check that out. We also have a Discord. Please join Discord free. We're always happy to have new people join us and talk with us. So definitely go do that. And that's where I post all the casting for what's coming on the show. If you want to join, that's where you can join easily. You can become part. You can be part of the show. So if you want to guest, that's how you do it. And when you're talking about awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Has Fury. You can follow her on Twitch, TikTok, and Instagram. You will see a link to her link tree in the show notes. And I want to give a shout out to Bill Tucker, the Gamer Looks Out For You. I think go check out his podcast. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, YouTube, audio only, but we can be found on all those different things. Also on TikTok, where I just mainly make squirrel videos. But whatever the hell I can make from my desk while I'm sitting here. So definitely go check that out. And I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See ya.